You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
All right, we're back for another edition of the Hemp Connoisseur Radio, and we get the beautiful, lovely, and insatiably brilliant Christy Lunsford in the studio again with us for 2 weeks in a row.
Please stop.
You know, just to show the humble nature of Miss Christy Lunsford, say, please don't give me such a glowing intro, which is like the worst thing to ever ask me to do because you're going to get like a super glowing one. So, but I was not here last week due to...
Why weren't you here?
Okay, so the week before, my baby was sick. And
it's not funny. I'm not laughing.
No. It wasn't funny. It was the first time she was sick, and on Thursdays, my girlfriend / wife, whatever you want to call her, because we've been together 16 years, so we're married.
Put a ring on her.
No, she don't care. She don't.
Oh.
We've actually talked about we're going to get married probably in a few years.
Well, do it for me.
Well, okay, we'll do it for you.
I love weddings.
We're going to get married in a few years, probably when Mia is old enough to be our flower girl.
Oh,
we thought that would be kind of cute to so she can be more aware of the ceremony. It'd be fun
beautiful.
for mom and dad.
Okay.
So we don't really care. Anyway, lost her. Oh, so Mia was sick. And it was the first time she's super sick, and we did not want to like put her in the hands of a babysitter while she was sick. So it was like that kind of sucks.
Absolutely.
Normally she's the easiest baby in the world. When she's with a babysitter, she just like plays for a minute and then goes to sleep, and she's awesome and chill. So I had to take over because Jackie couldn't cancel her classes, and
right, definitely.
And
you
then,
have a backup system.
And I have a backup
you're
system.
An excellent parent.
That's right. I have a backup system.
Yes.
And then last week, our babysitter was sick, and we were like, well, we're not going to hand Mia over just as she got better to a sick babysitter. So I had to, again, take it off.
Smart.
Yeah, it's a bummer. But, so we may be looking at rescheduling where we're going to be on the show, so it doesn't have to coincide with those kind of things. So we always have a backup plan.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Awesome.
We'll look at that. We'll let some announcements go out soon when we figure that out.
Okay, great.
But so you guys had a great show last week. Thank you for...
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I listened
Hi,
in.
Sam.
I was listening in.
I know you were texting.
I was texting.
me.
I was multitasking. I was texting and feeding the baby at the same time, a spoon in one hand and the phone in the other, and listening to you guys all at the same time. And she was actually kind of tilting her head towards the computer, looking at you guys.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
How old is she?
She's over 8 months now.
Oh, okay. So her visualization is developed.
Oh, it's
almost
totally
to the point
developed.
where
Oh, yeah.
She knows what's going on.
Oh, yeah. She's looking around. She's super
Good.
observant. She's got huge eyes, so it's really obvious that she's observing. And, just kind of checks everything out, smiles, and chills out. She's like, we hit the baby jackpot, Christy.
Oh,
We really did.
I did too.
Did you?
Yeah,
You did?
I did.
Like, not a big crier.
We call it the Trinity
Okay.
because, I can't imagine adding another child to. I don't think I would have gotten that lucky again.
Okay.
So
you have 3 kids?
no.
Oh, okay. Well, you
No,
said Trinity. I'm sorry.
It's my husband.
Oh, the
and
Trinity.
my
I
son.
gotcha. Now I understand.
It's a Trinity.
Gotcha.
It's powerful.
Yeah, we're not sure if we've talked about maybe adopting down the line.
Oh.
Because I want a boy now. If we have a girl, and I'm psyched that we have a girl,
Right.
but I'm like, well, if we're going to have another kid, I want a boy.
Sounds
But-
reasonable.
But, we decided, well, the only way to know you're going to have a boy is by adopting a boy.
True.
Otherwise you're just rolling the dice. And I have so many stories of people I know that, like, well, we wanted a boy, so we had another baby, and it was a girl. And then we had
8
like 4
kids
girls. Yeah.
Later.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, we're not doing that. We're not trying to be a baby factory.
Adopt.
We're going to adopt.
There are plenty of beautiful.
In my
kids.
opinion, especially in today's society, I have no problem with people having multiple kids. But for me personally, my belief is, well, there's 2 of us. We're making 1 more child, and there's other children out there that need parents. So why should I create more children when there's other kids out there that need parents?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And it's a simple matter. So.
Not to sound weird, but I feel the same way about dogs. I'm not a big thing about going to breeders and dog breeders and buying dogs. I'm about rescuing a dog because it needed love and it existed.
Absolutely.
So why not take that one in? So,
Right. I think that's really reasonable.
I think it's reasonable. Yeah.
I feel the same way about people.
Yeah.
My husband thinks I'm running a cannabis bed and breakfast because I do people are coming in from out of state all the time.
Right.
And they're like, hey, we hear you have an extra room. I shouldn't have actually said that.
No.
But yeah,
But you're booked for the next 8 months.
I kind of am booked.
Yeah, see,
yeah.
so
but the
no
thing
room.
about it is it's see a need, fill a need. And we are a big family.
Got it.
And I think we actually have family business to talk about.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, we had a cannabis wedding in the family.
We had a cannabis
Last
wedding,
weekend.
yes, and it is really a true cannabis wedding. I mean, the wedding was my partner Christiana, who used to be my director of sales, and I made her my partner because she put enough sweat equity into it at the magazine. And then her husband Jay Brown. Well, actually, we have to get used to saying Christiana Brown now.
Oh wow!
I know.
So nice.
And they are truly a match made in cannabis industry. Because Jay worked as a salesperson for another company that I had owned and started called Nexus Meds at the time.
Right.
Of course, obviously, my passion was with the magazine, and so I parted ways with the other partners of Nexus Meds, and then Jay left. Pretty much right after I left because he liked working with me.
Right.
But while he was the number one salesperson for Nexus Meds,
Right.
Christiana was our number one salesperson for the THC. And so they got to meet each other and get to know each other, and they started collaborating on contacts and everything. And next thing you knew, they were together. And it was the cutest thing. I didn't talk about this when I was during the wedding ceremony because Yes, I officiated the wedding.
I was so excited. It was so romantic, and you made me cry.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So romantic.
I didn't
know you had it in you.
Thanks.
Absolutely. But you didn't talk about it during the wedding.
No, I didn't talk about this during the wedding because first of all, I can't take credit for the script. Christiana told me I should go ahead and take credit for it.
Yeah.
But Christiana, being the super controlled person and like on top of everything, had sent me over like a whole thing. And she's like, look, if you want to write something, go right ahead and write something. But I'd never officiated a wedding before. It's not my forte. Right. And she sent me over the script, and I looked over. I was like, Christiana, this is beautiful. And I was like, all I have to do is just basically, perform it in a sense. And so she put together like kind of a smattering of some of her favorite like best hits of ceremonies, and she kept it under 10 minutes. And
Thank
so,
you.
yeah, I know, right? Thank you.
Great wedding.
And so all I did was basically add 3 jokes, one in the beginning, one in the middle, and one in the end. And that was like all I did to like add to the ceremony. And I thought about it after the wedding rehearsal, because I sat there kind of like, during the wedding rehearsal, you're in that position and you're looking out, and I see Christiana and Jay, and it was all these things I was thinking about of that, and over the night I was like, oh, I want to write this and add it in. And I did. I wrote all this stuff, and then I looked at it and I was like, I just added like another like 3 to 5 minutes to the ceremony, and I was like, you know what, it's not about what I have to say. So after all of that work of doing it, because I kind of did it for myself, I cut it out, and then I actually just shared it with Christiana and Jay separately. Jay before the wedding ceremony, because I was in the back room with Jay before we came out, and then Christiana afterwards. And I was like, look, I just want to let you know that these were some of the things I wanted to say, but I didn't want to take too much time out of the ceremony, just out of pure respect for you and for the people in the ceremony, that it felt a little too gratuitous to say, hey, this is my feelings about it. But one of the things that struck me was, during the early stages of the magazine, I was still bartending at a place called Castleman's. And Christiana had to come grab something from me. And at the bar, I had brought with me, because we just hadn't had a chance to hook up throughout the day. So she came up there, and I go out and have like a cigarette break. And Jay was with her, and they were like, well, we have something we want to talk to you about. And it was so cute. They looked so nervous.
Sweet.
They did. They looked really nervous. And they were like, we are dating. And I was like, and it was funny because at first I was like, in my head. This is all in my head, by the way. It was like, really? And then all of a sudden I looked at him and I was like, that totally makes sense. It does. And when you get to know Chris, if you looked at them both separately, you would never be like, yeah, these two are going to end up together. Not because one's more attractive than the other. They're both beautiful people. It wasn't that at all. It's just you would never, if you didn't know them or whatever. But then all of a sudden I just looked at them both and I was like, I totally get how you guys fit really well together. And they kind of wanted my blessing as their boss. Oh, absolutely. Which was hysterical to me, because it was a weird situation where I was like, what kind of boss would I be if I was like, no?
You're in love. One of you has to quit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Plus, they were the 2 most valuable employees we had, one in one business, one in the other. It was like, hell no. The whole thing was like what anybody would say. It was like, look, as long as you guys, if you have any drama amongst your relationship, you just don't bring it into the office. And they were like, oh, of course, we know that. We've talked about it. And it was like, well, then be happy, But it was one of those things that occurred to me that in a sense, it was all my fault. And that was why they asked me to officiate it. They said that, when they had asked me.
Beautiful. And you are really quite the troublemaker.
I know. Yeah, right.
Good job.
But no, in a sense it was. I mean, yeah, if we hadn't created those businesses and brought those guys in, they might not have had a chance to really get to know each other well. I'm not saying that they wouldn't have found each other. Maybe they would have, but it did give them that incubator to get to know each other and kind of bond and become a couple. And it was cool. It was just cool to see that growth.
I remember the first time I saw them together. It was at a party at my home, and I walked by and I was like, "Oh wow, they're together."
Yeah, they're together.
Yeah, it was very cool. It was a little light bulb moment as I was walking by.
Yeah, so they're one of the and there's been plenty of matchups and everything in the industry, but not many weddings.
Not many weddings.
I think they might be one of the first cannabis weddings.
I agree. I would also just like to say, there's a lot of media interest, especially in cannabis weddings, and I know that Christiana was approached several times by several different media entities, and I love that she kept her wedding pure and intimate, and it was so nice to be there and just be a guest.
Well, she asked me about that too.
Yeah.
And she did. She came to me and she was like, and this is how awesome she is and why she's my partner now. She's like, there's a lot of interest. There was an article written about them, and she did allow for that. And she asked me, she's like, there's some media that wants to come to our wedding. And she's like, it could be really good publicity for the magazine.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it could, Christiana, but it's your wedding.
Absolutely.
And I was like, if you don't want them there, then don't have them there.
Yeah.
And I was like, your wedding is not about publicity for the magazine. I was like, let it be your wedding.
But she is always thinking,
she is.
What is good for my family? And we
What's
all
good
do this. You
we do
this, I do this. What is good for my family? What is good for my career? What is good for the movement? What is good for creating safe access and for patients and good for legal cannabis? And my hat's off to her. Beautiful wedding. It was the who's who of cannabis.
It really was.
There were great folks there from Northern Lights.
It was Northern Lights. They're on our back cover this issue, and they're going to be on our back cover next issue. Yeah, they did a great job. They were really excited to come up with a nice graphic for it, and they worked with us because they were like, "Well, what are you doing on the front cover?" So we don't because I asked them that. I was like, "Look, are you guys going to do a Christmas tree or anything like that? Because then we won't do that on the front cover." Because Christiana made this front cover, and it took a long time. She built this tree out of cannabis leaf graphics.
It's beautiful.
And everybody else would just have a cannabis plant that they made with lights on it. And she's like, oh no.
I have to tell you, I was at karate last night and I was reading the magazine, and I have to do it kind of a certain way because as parents we have to sit there, and I was looking at I was like, this is such a great cover. And then I saw the gold bong and I was like, God, I love this magazine. There's a gold bong.
It's not in your face, but it's there, and it's one of those things that, from a distance, it just looks like a funky Christmas tree. But when you start looking, you're like, oh, those are all leaves. Those are all. But
none of maybe except for the top leaf, you really wouldn't be able.
You wouldn't really pick
a novice wouldn't get that.
A novice wouldn't get it. You're right. And then the gold bong thrown in there just for good measure.
Exactly. Yeah. You know what? I gotta say though, when I flipped through this, the great folks from Walking Raven were at the wedding. Of course, our sponsors, Incredibles
were there. And there was a little girl romance. They need to have a word for bromance for girls that bond.
It's called lesbian.
No, not like that.
Oh,
like
lady
a bromance
is I've got
because and Bob Esquino, one of the owners of Incredibles, who's on Pot Barons, his girlfriend was there, and so we go outside to go smoke.
Right.
And I ended up being outside with Jackie. We were out there for a half an hour, 35 minutes. It was cold out, but we kept getting ready to go back inside. And then another group of really awesome people came outside to smoke. And we ended up getting really, really high for one smoke break, turned into about 5.
Did I talk to you before or after that?
I don't know. I don't remember now. Yeah. Bob Esquino's girlfriend came, and then Jackie sat down with her, and so I got to get a hold of Bob because she's like, I really want to hang out with that girl. Aww. And Jackie's one of those people that sometimes has a hard time finding girlfriends.
Right.
Because she's kind of like a guy's girl.
I understand.
You know what I mean? You're
do.
kind of like that too, aren't you? Yeah. And some girls are threatened by women like that. I don't know why, but I'm not a girl, so I don't get it. I'm not a woman. I don't get that whole thing.
And I don't get it either because
and Jackie doesn't get it either.
Yeah.
But
what is that?
What is that?
I don't know.
But anyway, so there was a little girlmance going on there. So she's like, I really want to hang out with that girl. So because they were sitting on a bench for a while.
She was great. I got to meet her.
I can't remember her name.
I can't remember her name either, but she was great.
She was really cool. But yeah, it was cool. It was a who's who. I mean, Luke from Walking Raven was there. There was, Truman, the owner of Southwest. Yeah. Adam from The Giving Tree, and his sister was in the wedding party.
That's right.
Kendra, and then there was
Robin
Georgia
Hackett.
And Warren Edson.
Oh my God, yes.
Then there was Eva and Mitch from Northern Lights, like we mentioned. I'm going to forget somebody, so I'm going to feel really bad if I do. So, Andy Klein from Preferred Organic Therapy was there. He's an awesome guy. It was one of those things where we looked around and like, look, some of my favorite people in the industry were not there.
True.
But there was a lot of my favorite people in the industry who were at that wedding. Absolutely. And it was like, and we were bummed.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I have 5 more that I can just rattle off. Like, my date was Kim Sidwell. CeCe Dunn was my date.
Dunn, Adam Dunn's wife.
Absolutely.
Yeah, who's one of the nicest women in the world.
Absolutely. I ran into Susan Squibb.
And
Jordan Dietrich.
Yeah.
And they, oh my gosh, I Ubered to the wedding. Mm-hmm. I don't even want to tell you how much that cost.
I'm sure. Jeez.
And then Susan drove me partway across town,
awesome.
And then I Ubered back. I was like,
got it.
Yeah, it was insane.
Right.
Absolutely insane. So, yeah, it was a great wedding.
It was. It was a good wedding. It was cool. It was fun. We had to leave early because,
I saw that.
Yeah. It was one of those things where, Jackie hasn't been able to party too much, and she's a big party girl. She's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But, being a new mom and being super tired and maybe getting about 4 hours continuous sleep the night before, and if you count over all the days in a row where there's no sleep, she had a couple drinks. We smoked. We had a couple drinks. We went out and danced for one round.
Oh,
and we both got super dry mouth because we were really high. And we're like, let's just go down some water. And we'll go back out and dance because she's a dancer. She loves to dance. And it was great. So we go back, get some water. And I look at her and she's sitting at our table. And she just her back, it was because it was a bar stool. She was back up against the wall and she started dozing off. And I was like, I guess it's time to go, honey. No, she had to go.
Happy 420.
Happy 420.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a beautiful thing.
It was a beautiful thing.
I wish Keith, my husband, he bailed on me. He was super sick.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's going around.
It's going around.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. Cannabis is supposed to be antibacterial. I think. Oh, great product. Cannabis antibacterial
soap.
A soap, but maybe not one of those little hand washes.
Just a little sanitizer
with
thingy.
alcohol. That would be like a double whammy.
Yeah, Canna wash.
I can't name anything. Canna anything. It's not allowed. But I did make a cannabis soap once, and it was okay, but it doesn't like stick.
Yeah. Hemp makes a good soap. Hemp makes good soap.
Well, it was a hemp-based soap with a cannabis extract.
Got it.
In
Interesting. See, because I love Dr. Bronner's soaps.
Oh,
I love them.
Fabulous.
I've been using them for years before
Great
it was
company.
even in fashion. Yeah. I actually had one that you would have liked. It's with a Canon name.
Oh yeah.
We talked about with Jen Murray. This was back in the day in the early stages. We talked about coming up with a formula to create a cannabis sexual lubricant.
Oh. This
again. We were the first to come up with this idea.
Oh,
no. This was years ago. This was 4.5 years ago.
Oh.
That's pretty early.
Well, I tell you what, I will go on and do some research, but we were on air at the other location having the same conversation.
But did you actually get into the lab and start putting it together and making extractions and putting it in and having people test it out?
Would you like me to bring you a sample?
Oh,
the next time I'm in?
But nothing was going to beat our name.
Okay.
Cannabang.
Oh, my God.
Come on. Cannabang. You know you were going to buy that.
First of all, thank you for furthering and elevating the conversation about cannabis in such a classy and forthright manner.
Hey, we were having fun.
That is a really great name.
It is a really great name. We were like, come on, we were like, yeah, okay, we could talk. There's the part of us that want to elevate the conversation, and there's the other part that says it's fun, and we're talking about a sexual lubricant. How can you not have fun with a sexual lubricant name?
Cannabang. Well,
and we could have spelled it with a BHANG just to add even more to it.
You would have.
And we would have.
That is the only place that you could have elevated.
That would be the elevation.
So,
But Cannabang.
The sexual lubricant conversation is a really interesting one.
It is.
And there are some really great players in the market that are
Working
are
on it.
doing amazing things.
Sure.
And the people who are coming, like slipping in, pardon the pun. Additionally, I mean, there's going to be some great products. Just wait. Just wait. They're out.
If any of them use Cannabang, I'm trade TM. Cannabang,
Yeah.
TM.
You need to do the little write it in the envelope and send it to yourself. But
I know, totally.
Yeah, intellectual property is a whole nother conversation. So,
It's hard to have intellectual property in this industry, actually.
well, it's because we're all so brilliant.
Yes.
And we are all having the same thoughts because we're all having sex.
That's true.
Could be.
That's true.
Could be. Yeah. And, you know, there are a lot of amazing products out there. Like our sponsor makes a great
Incredibles does make a great product. They did take second with their Affogato bar.
That
which
sounds
is
so good.
It's so good.
And
that bar is going to go nuts because first of all, you know, in the United States we're coffee like fanatics. So now if you don't like coffee, you're not going to like the Affogato, but you're going to like something else that Incredibles makes. But and this is our break, by the way. So you know, we're just talking we're talking about our sponsor, so it's our break. That's a great thing about it. Yeah, it's we're on top of it though.
Hey,
but the Affogato bar is because I'm a coffee dude. I love coffee, and it is now one of my favorites. That and then they're the one that they do seasonally, the Pop Rock one, which is out now, I believe.
Is it?
If it's not, it better be out soon because they usually do it for New Year's.
Oh, do they? Okay, so that is my favorite.
That is your favorite?
Well, I like it because from a formulation standpoint, it's brilliant because you have to hold it in your mouth and the uptake is so much
Yeah,
quicker.
it does. The activation time is faster.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if they were, I'd love to say that they planned that ahead of time. I don't think they did. I think they just loved the idea of doing the Pop Rocks for New Year's.
Yeah.
And it was a really pleasant side effect to recognize, wow, it's like working like a sublingual and it's like, it's really getting into your system much faster. Right. But yeah, you know, Incredibles won Patient's Choice and Connoisseur's Choice for their bar as well, and they got second place. Canna Creations with their Canna Bomb won, and it's like a Buckeye, which is delicious anyway. And they were very close behind on Patient's Choice and Connoisseur's Choice, but their testing was a little bit more accurate, I'd like to say, than and that pushed them over for the overall score for best. But they were like neck and neck, really, and they did a great job.
Tell me about your testing. Did you use one lab or did you?
We used one lab, and. Well, first of all, it's cheaper to use one lab because you have to pay for everything.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. At least you did. At least you had lab testing. Hi.
Yeah, we had lab testing, and what we do on the testing for the edibles, for example, is like for flower and concentrates, we tested for how much total THC you were able to harness, activated THC.
Right.
And then it was set as a bell curve. So the first place, say, got tested for like 24% THC in their flower, and then everybody else, that was considered the 100% mark at 24%, and then everybody else was compared to that score, and that's how their scores came out. Okay. So that's how it worked out. And then on the testing, it was a bell curve as well. But no, it wasn't actually. I'm sorry. On the edible side, it was done by an accuracy point, and to be 100% accurate, you had to be 100% accurate. You had to have exactly 100 milligrams in your product. If you were high or low, you lose those percentage points off your score.
Right.
And so that's how it was done. Because to us on edibles, it was about your accuracy.
And I got to tell you, from a formulation standpoint, unless you have a biochemist on staff, that is difficult to do.
Very difficult to do.
So hats off to them for sure.
No, very, very difficult to do. And then third place was from the Green Solutions edible company, which I'm still working on clarification on their name because they seem to keep rebranding, but Nectar Bee Infusions, I believe, is what their name is now.
Okay.
Or it's just Infusions. I'm working out the clarification because we're getting all the plaques printed. Oh. And so they were like, well, we're going to do this as our name. No, we're going to do this. And I'm like, okay.
That would be an important thing to know.
No, it is. And it's fine. They're figuring out their marketing right now because it was a new product and they were putting it out there as a way to test it out. And that's what a lot of people are doing in the championship is because we give them so much of their data and we give them all of their scores back, all of the comments back, so they know how they rated against everybody else, and they get to see all the scores and ratings on taste, flavor, packaging, all of that.
That is brilliant.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nobody else does that. And that's why we get a lot of people who come back in, whether they win or not. Because I was getting thanked regularly from everybody who entered, like, man, thanks so much for supplying this. And these are people who didn't win, and they're like, this is like you said you were going to do this, but we didn't actually think you were going to do it. And so people learn that we actually have integrity, and when we do what we say we're going to do,
the data is
so
meaningful. And
it is.
Honestly, the back end, I understand the back end work and the hours and hours it took to put that together. So, great championship.
Those guys don't understand it. If it's your first time entering the competition, you have no concept until you see the spreadsheets the next week.
Oh,
and that's what happens is when I send it to them and then they're like, oh, this is what you've been doing. And I'm like, yeah, I've kept track of all this data. And I only had one hitch. I admit when I'm wrong. I had one little hitch out of double checking and triple checking all the data from one of our dispensaries. And they got back to me because I provide the data and like, hey, 2 of these judges' scores are exactly the same and so are their comments. And I was like, oh no. I mean, and I'm freaking out, like breaking into sweats when I hear that because that means that could change the outcome.
Right.
And I found out what I did was probably during one of my double or triple checking times, I must have accidentally, because a lot of times I'm just in a copy and paste mode over and over again. Yeah. I must have just by accident copied one of the judges and then went to the other one and pasted it into the wrong one.
Excel is really tricky as well.
It is. It can be.
I mean, if my keypad, if I graze the screen, it'll put in a mathematical thing.
So most likely that's what happened. So I had to go back, and I keep track of which judge is number 1 and 2 and 3. So I went back and said, okay, well, this is the judge that it was judge number 3, and judge number 5 was the one I made the mistake on. So I go back and get judge number 5's info, put it right back in. It did change their score, but not enough to actually change any of the outcome.
That's good.
And I'm sitting there like, thank you, God. That would have been so ugly. But, those are things you got to do. I mean, it's just, learn from it.
Well, I learn something every day. Yeah. I learn something absolutely every day. So, why don't we talk about some...
let's talk about some news. We've just been rambling so far.
We kind of have been rambling.
I know.
That's okay.
That's all right.
So, yesterday was a very interesting day for cannabis in Colorado because the CDPHD board of directors unanimously authorized funding for $7.6 million.
That's the Colorado Department of Health, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. For 8 different studies to determine the medical efficacy of cannabis for treating specific diseases.
Yes.
And the goal is to add additional qualifying conditions for medical marijuana in Colorado. And I'm sure these studies are going to be used nationally and hopefully internationally.
I would hope so.
As other medical states come online. I call this Robin Hood politics. And immediately a group of concerned medical cannabis citizens have launched a countersuit or a suit to sue the state of Colorado to not have that money go to funding these studies, which is because so many adjectives come to mind.
Okay, so this money, first of all, the Colorado Department of Health gets this money from the marijuana registry, which means that every time somebody applies to get a red card or now a purple card, is what it looks like, and they pay their fee, that's where that money is going into. It's the processing of the fee and then getting the card and all that. And obviously there is a surplus. Now the fee price has gone down like almost every year.
Right. Because they're getting better at it.
They are.
And to their credit, and there's very few things we can give the CDPHD credit for. They overestimated the cost, and then they took steps to bring it down to where it's reasonable for patient access.
But they weren't giving refunds.
No. If I buy a gallon of milk at the grocery store and then it's $5 and then I go back a week later and it's $3.50, do I ask for my money back?
Yeah.
No.
And I don't have a problem with what it costs right now. What's it, $35 right now? It's like nothing. It's just the $35 discount VIP card is what it is.
Exactly. And the $75 before, I got to tell you,
it was $95 before.
Or $95. Thank you.
Yeah.
When I think about that, it was $95 to have access to legal medical cannabis.
Yeah.
Fine. But Robin Hood politics is what it is. A lot of people are saying that patients got stiffed. But in my point of view, I would really like to say of all the things this money could have been pinched for, if it's been pinched, it's going to provide medical research for veterans for post-traumatic stress disorder, which
should have passed back like a year ago anyway when they tried it.
We already have peer-reviewed quantitative research about cannabis and post-traumatic stress disorder. But I'm very thrilled that a friend of mine, Sue Sicily, got funded yesterday and that she is going to be doing a research study with veterans. And
what school was she with?
I think it's University of Arizona.
Arizona, I think it was. And she had a study.
Yes.
And I forget the specifics of the study right now. We reported on it back in the day when it happened.
Exactly.
But they canceled her funding.
Because they didn't like
the findings.
They didn't like the findings.
They didn't like the
research.
findings. So, yeah, that was crazy. So it's great to see that she's getting funded now. That's awesome.
Absolutely. What she does need is a location to do her research. So she'd like to do it in Arizona. And again, that's not something I personally have a problem with because there are sick people everywhere. And I don't care that the money is coming from Colorado and going to Arizona because I'm a citizen of the United States. I'm good. A lot of people have a problem with that. I'm good.
Yeah.
But she does need a place to do some really meaningful research. And there are a couple other people who got some great funding to do research. I think the University of Colorado is going to do a medical research study
I've been
as well.
hearing some stories that they've been working on funding for research for a while, whether it's University of Colorado or another or DU, and they're trying to hide that they're doing those studies. Because they're worried about federal grants and funding like that.
Exactly. And that is probably part of the reason why Sue got fired last year is the federal, it's death from 1,000 cuts. There are so many different ways that we can be dinged in what we're doing. And look, at the end of the day, I want everyone to be safe and have jobs and have access But yes.
There seems to be some common sense happening, which is really uncommon on the federal level. I mean, Congress just basically came out and said we're not going to fund medical marijuana crackdowns from the DEA anymore.
Yeah.
Which, look, I mean, like I've heard somebody else saying, that's a huge deal. And I'm like, it's not as big of a deal as you might think. It's a big deal, but, the Justice Department already came out and said that.
Right.
So now Congress is like, only a year behind saying, oh, okay, yeah, we're going to do this now. I mean, there's some interesting things going on in the federal level. I mean, the Cuba thing was kind of interesting that happened yesterday. Nothing to do with cannabis, by the way, but
well, I
interesting.
would love for you to bring me up to speed because I actually was on a store tour with Sue and a bunch of veterans, and I want to know about Cuba.
Okay, so Look, I think most of society in the United States has been like, what is the deal with us in this thing about Cuba? Like, we can't go to Cuba. They're 100 miles away from Florida. We can't even go to Cuba because of this embargo.
There.
It's beautiful. And I plan to go to Cuba. I was going to plan on a trip to go to Cuba in the next couple of years. Well, this is before the baby, so that was, but we were going to fly into Mexico and then you go into Cuba and then they fake stamp your passport. Because they know,
right.
And they won't stamp it. But the problem is you have no rights. You don't have an embassy, or you didn't have an embassy. So if something happened to you while you're in Cuba, you're pretty much screwed. But still, I wanted to go anyway.
Yeah.
And now they're talking about opening it up. There was a prisoner exchange, and there's people out there who are obviously have nothing but bad things to say about Obama. And I'm not saying I'm a huge Obama supporter. I actually like him as a president. I don't like everything he's done as a president, but that's every president. So
Absolutely.
Hey, wow, I can be moderate. Pick something. Something's crackling on my mic here. That's all right. We good? All right.
That was loud.
But like Marco Rubio, who's like the spokesman for Republican Cubans, came out and was like, this was showing to be a terrible negotiator, and I don't know. Something's crackling. And,
yeah.
But, and they're saying it was terrible negotiation because he did, he and got nothing. And
it's Cuba. It's Cuba.
Good.
And we're back on.
And we're back on until the next crackle. Very strange. Is sound coming through? Can we keep talking? Yeah. Okay. But basically, they did a prisoner exchange. They got a guy who was in jail in Cuban prison for 5 years who did nothing, for what I know. They also got some guy who was actually a CIA operative, and they didn't share his name. And they said he was an amazing guy, but they got him back, and we've given prisoners back to them. And now we're talking about having an embassy in Havana. They're going to have an embassy, I believe, in Miami, and we're opening up talks with Cuba for the first time.
I am so happy to hear that.
And I'm so happy to hear that. I don't know why people are criticizing the Obama campaign administration for this. Because I actually think it's one of those things that we're like, aren't we over this whole Cuban thing? I mean, how much of a threat is this tiny little island?
I'm over war. I'm over arguing internally or internationally. I'm over sending our children abroad to kill people.
Yeah.
I'm over veterans coming back and killing themselves, 22 a day. I'm over it.
Well, look, if you wanna change the mindset of Cuba as a country, in my opinion, we need to go there and spend money there, and then help them as a country where they all of a sudden the people start, wow, we have money, we have things. Where it's harder to keep a country down when they start, being allowed outside.
Absolutely.
And I think that to me, we're gonna win that battle by being able to go over.
And they have so much to offer us culturally, and we have so much to offer them as well. So.
Well, and here's my segue to bring us back to cannabis. It's the same thing. Like, it's going to be so hard because I've had a lot of people talk about that, they're going to take away, the legalization of cannabis. It's like, yeah, it's not going to happen. You can't, it's so hard to take something right away.
Right. Yeah, let's take a break.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it. On Grass. Runongrass.com.
That was it. My thing was coming undone.
The law offices of Edson Maton and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers.
Yeah, let's talk about the law.
Premises, cultivation operations.
Because Cuba really doesn't have anything to do with cannabis. I had to drink some kind of segue back in.
Throughout Colorado, with offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer.
But yeah, I thought that was the hugest news ever.
State of Colorado.
Like, we're opening up Cuba.
Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
We're back. All right. Our sound issues are fine. I had a loose dangling participle of a cord here, and we figured that out.
I'm glad you were able to get that plugged back.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So, all right, we talked about Cuba, which has nothing to do with cannabis, but it was interesting anyway.
Right now.
International. I bet Cubans can grow some really good weed too.
I bet they are growing some
they probably are. What else are you going to do? I'm just excited that I don't even smoke cigars, but I've had a Cuban before, a Cuban cigar, and it was really good. And I'm like, I'm excited to legally be able to smoke a Cuban cigar.
Imagine if they can do that with tobacco.
Cuban blunts. Can I
just stand in the room because that's all?
Can I actually? On a side note, I want to say one of my favorite concentrate companies out there, Mahatma Concentrates. They won they were champions last year for their MK Ultra powered by Patient's Choice in the THC Championship. They have come out they've partnered with a company called M. Hardin or MJ Arden. I don't know how to pronounce it yet. I'm not sure.
Jardin.
I like to say M. Hardin.
I like it.
Yeah, it's got kind of a Cuban sound to it.
And it's French for garden.
It's French for garden. Is that right?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
So they have I gave this gift to Jay Brown for a wedding gift. Well, I gave it to Christian to give to him, but they're not on the market yet.
It was in the wedding suite. We were at the Brown Palace.
You had some of that. Oh.
I can't have some of that. I was standing near. That's all I need.
This is
lovely.
It's a portable vapor. It's a disposable vaporizer,
right.
But it looks like a cigar with the M. Hardin logo as the wrapper.
Was beautiful.
And you could change the length of the ash as an aesthetic. They have a short one or a longer one, and from a distance, it looks like you're smoking a big fat cigar.
Right.
Which is awesome, and it has like a full gram of really good hash in there, hash oil, and it has a really smooth flavor. Right. Like I said, it's been working. They've been working on it with Mahatma and everything, and I want to say it was like one of the coolest new products that's not on the market yet. So it's going to be out in the market, and we're going to do a review of it, and it's going to be an awesome review because it's really good. But I think it was like it was literally the perfect gift for a cannabis smoking groom.
Absolutely.
For a wedding. I mean, it was like it's just perfect, right?
I didn't see Jay with it, but I've got to tell you, I had this really surreal moment. We were at a beautiful hotel getting ready, and Christiana was in her dress, and everyone Christiana wore white, the ladies wore coral, and it was just one of those keystone moments where they were all kind of huddled around and passing that cigar around, and I knew it was cannabis, and there was just a little tiny drift of vapor. I can't wait to see the back end photos because I'm sure they were amazing.
Oh, I'm sure they were. But it was one of the coolest things. It comes in a really cool box and everything, but no need for the charger because, like I said, it's portable. Right. It just comes with it. You don't do the cartridge thing. You just buy another one when it's done.
Really excited about the hash.
The hash was really good.
Yeah,
that was the thing. I mean, it's not just this gimmick of like, hey, I'm smoking something that looks like a cigar. It was like really very good, very smooth tasting.
Was in that?
I believe it was Mahatma.
Okay.
Because they're the ones that have been working on it with them. Now, I don't want to go too far out because it hasn't hit the market yet.
Okay. We do not create a buzz.
We're not. Yeah. So they're not
so.
ready yet. I mean, they're getting there. No. I mean, I think it's being launched in the next month.
Cool.
And when you guys check this, and when you do see the M. Hardin out there, I highly recommend you get it because it's friggin' good. It really is. And I mean, it's going to be my new favorite thing. I think I don't know what they're going to be retailing for. I'm guessing it's probably going to be about $50 because you're really paying for the hash more than you're paying for.
You are glowing right now.
Am I?
Yeah.
Because it was good. I loved it. That is my kind of thing. I'm all about the vape now. I mean, I love to smoke my flower, but if I'm out and about, I don't like to carry flower around with me. I don't want to carry the pipe. I don't want to carry all of that stuff.
No.
Because I just want to be able to smoke or consume anywhere.
Yes.
And
subtle.
so you got to be discreet. Yeah.
Subtle, yeah.
But speaking of not so subtle moves made recently,
which not so subtle move?
So the state of Colorado is being sued right now by Nebraska and Oklahoma. Wait, not Oklahoma. I'm sorry.
Hold on, I can tell you. Nebraska and Oklahoma.
It is Nebraska and Oklahoma. Well, I was like, but we don't even border Oklahoma. So weird. Why are they suing us?
Because they're angry.
And
they don't care if children die they don't care if they die from seizing from their epilepsy.
Sure.
And they don't care if veterans have post-traumatic stress disorder, and they don't care if the elderly don't have access to safe cannabis. They don't care.
So what are they suing us for, basically? Because we legalize
really
bud.
Question.
What are you? So you're suing us because we legalize cannabis, and you don't like the fact that some people from your state come to our state to purchase legal cannabis, and then they bring it back to your state.
Right. So, and I just have to clarify I am not a fan of diversion. I'm not a fan of anyone breaking the law because we worked very hard for our laws here, and we definitely want to see them continue on. But they're blaming U.S. Attorney Eric Holder for not enforcing federal drug laws in Colorado. But this goes back to just last week when we had a national declaration that they're not going to spend any more money. Seriously. I think they had everything drafted, and because they already spent their tax money on it,
I think that's what it is. You're right. I think they already had it drafted, and then as soon as that thing came out, they were like, "Oh, we're going to probably look stupid, but we already spent the money on this, so we're going to do it."
I don't understand.
I don't get it either.
Yeah.
I don't get it either.
And I know that we've had a significant impact on Nebraska's laws, but the best way to
legalize it.
Thank you.
Legalize it.
Yeah, then they don't have to have this law enforcement.
Hey, how about that?
Yes.
How about that? We're in the 21st century now, people.
Exactly. And it's crazy. Yeah. There's been some crazy things going on. I put together some show notes, and I had a WTF moment when I was doing that. I found a great hemp article.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Let me pull it up real quick.
See it.
It's at the bottom. It's from the WTF desk. So. Oh, yeah.
From the Lane Report?
Yeah. The Lane Report. Can industrial hemp make a comeback?
Can it make a comeback?
It's almost like they cut and paste this article from the Hemp Connoisseur from like 3.5 years ago.
It's really funny, isn't it?
I just had a complete
We do, I see that a lot where it's like I'll see ads, especially, I mean, editorial on like hemp, especially, where it's like, because I've had somebody's, I get this a lot. I know I'm kind of going back around all of a sudden, but I get this a lot where I have somebody come up to me like, hey man, I love your magazine. You know what you need to do an article on?
Oh my God,
You
what?
need to do an article on like the endocannabinoid system. And I'm like, yeah, we did that in like March of 2011. And I'm like,
do you have any other great ideas?
Yeah, I know. So, what other ideas you have? Or like, hey man, you need to do a thing on like, hemp homes. And I'm like, yeah, we've done that. And I was like, and we can revisit those articles.
And we appreciate the
and I do.
enthusiasm.
I do.
Because we're passionate.
We are.
But
we are ahead of the curve, and that's just what it is. And I mean, I'm not saying that's a bragging thing. It was kind of our job to be ahead of the curve. It still
Absolutely.
is. So, but when I see some articles like what you're saying here, and I'm like, oh, you guys are so cute.
I know.
You're like, oh, this is a really big deal. Like, yeah, we pointed that out a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
you guys are
it's
cute.
so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know here's a piece of interesting international hemp news.
Mm-hmm.
There's a designer. His name is Paul Frank, and he does those monkeys. I don't know if you're familiar. It's like a version of the sock monkey that he puts on things.
Okay, yeah, I think I know what you're
it's
talking
kind of
about.
a tween trend.
Right.
And then really oddly, a very high-end Prada-esque kind of trend as well.
Okay.
So, but he just got hired by a company to design a line of hemp-based clothing and high-end goods.
Good.
Yeah, and this is a British company that does very high-end hemp women's clothing.
Great.
So
what's the name of the company?
Let me click on the link and I'll get it to you real quick. I'm so happy to have internet here. It's called Gala Global, and this is some PR. And I haven't really done a lot of back-end checking to make sure these aren't connected to people I wouldn't necessarily want to align the show with. But it's Gala Global Hemp Line, and to use specialty blends to create exciting new textured products. I love that.
Good.
I do love texture. I'm a complete fiber maniac, and I'm super excited. So
I'm waiting. I have, our friend Summer Starr from
loves Envirotech.
From Envirotextiles.
Love Summer. Hey.
Love her. She's been telling me about this guy. I think his name is Jamie. Can't remember your last name, Jamie. Sorry, and we haven't connected yet. But she keeps telling him to contact me. Or her, I don't know, it could be a girl. Jamie's unisex, so I'm not sure because I've never met this person. I think it's a guy, though. I think she said it was a guy.
Okay.
Anyway, she keeps telling him to contact me because I keep saying I want a hemp suit. And I want to start working on creating a customized hemp suit clothing line
I would love
for
that.
men in the industry for suits and start working on hemp business wear for women as well.
I would love hemp dresses
And
that I could design with pockets.
Yeah.
Hello, I need a place to keep my stuff.
Exactly. And so, look, there's a market. First of all, what my thought is that there's the niche market of the cannabis entrepreneur or the ganjapreneur, whatever you want to call us. Where I would say just market to the business owners in the industry and the managers and stuff to start getting all of our formal wear that we wear in big functions to be these hemp suits.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it becomes something that gets trendy and takes on, and all of the consumers want to start buying them and everything. There's a huge market for it. I want to do it. If there's somebody out there that can help me do it, we're going to do the Hemp Connoisseur collection at some point down the line. I know.
I would spend more for a hemp garden, hemp garment grown and sewn in the U.S.
Absolutely.
And I'll do your marketing because I just actually did it. Grown and sewn.
Grown and sewn.
In the U.S.
Right.
So in other hemp news, the American Seed and Oil Company has announced plans to cultivate hemp in New York in 2015.
Good. That's upstate New York. I doubt that's New York City, people. I just have to say that because I went to school in upstate New York, and every time somebody says New York, they think literally of the city, and they don't think about the entire state.
There's a state wrapped around New York City?
It's not. It's above it, really, upstate. But, and it's mostly farmland.
Yeah. And
it is.
They could have jobs and clean soil and amazing products.
Yeah.
So the American Seed and Oil people, they've got some thoughts about making a hemp-based CBD product, which I am a whole plant person, but I have extensive experience with this, and it's great stuff. I will say that.
I don't think I've talked about this, but at the Indo Expo show, a very good friend of ours, and I don't think I'm supposed to share his name yet. Because I think he's still working on being secret. I got to call him, actually. Okay. But he handed me an ounce of hemp flour,
fantastic.
CBD flour. And
did you smoke it?
Yes, I did.
Did it give you a headache?
No.
Oh.
Yes.
And is this below 0.3%?
Yes.
Do I know who you're talking about?
I believe you might.
Awesome. Okay. Sweet.
BA.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Awesome. So I smoked it, and here's what I would say. To me, that would be like my everyday, like wake up in the morning and smoke this product for the day kind of product.
Like a soft chill out, no mind altering.
No mind altering whatsoever. In fact, I felt like I had a very clear, focused brain.
Yeah.
I did feel a body relaxation. Like I was taking a mild muscle relaxant without the weirdness that can come along with it. But for the most part, I felt very clear-headed, and I felt like I was just in a very good mood.
That's amazing.
And so in that sense, I thought it was great.
Right.
In the other sense, and this is one of those things that not a lot of people know, I think you know this, Miss Lunsford, of course, is if you want to get really high, you would smoke a little bit of this CBD-only product and then have your flower shortly afterwards, and you will get really high because it counteracts
Raging
it.
High.
Yes.
So to delve briefly into the science on that, CBD potentiates the bioavailability of THC. It essentially primes all the cannabinoid receptors.
So it's lubing them up. It's lubing them up.
It kind of
like your cannabang is lubing it up. It's getting you ready.
We're back to the cannabis.
Hey, I had to bring it back.
And then let's say that you're having an especially bad moment with your THC and you're way too high. Have a little hit of that CBD flower, and it'll bring you right back down and modulate. Yeah. It's brilliant. And
it is.
It's a brilliant example of how this plant is a companion plant for mankind and how we're really meant to use it as a resource.
But it also has this Alice in Wonderland thing going on for it, doesn't it?
I'm good with that too.
Right? One pill makes you larger, one pill makes you smaller. It's like, it's like it's got this whole thing going on. But I think what's interesting is when more people learn what we're talking about. Absolutely. And you start getting the technology where it's like, okay, I have a vape cartridge that has my CBD-only product in it, and then I have my THC product and everything. It's like you can literally manage how you want to feel throughout the entire day. Okay, I need to focus. Oh, I have a test. Let me just take my CBD. I have this. Or, oh, wait, I'm too high to drive. Now let me just smoke my CBD and sober myself up faster so I can get back in the car.
Manage yourself, manage your mood, manage your productivity.
Yep.
It's brilliant. And we are on the cusp of something very, very amazing in cannabis and hemp. And, I hear constantly about how hemp isn't whole plant medicine. I'm sorry, it's whole plant hemp. And I won't get on, and no, we don't have enough time. But I think that we're on the cusp of something brilliant. And I'm so excited to hear this. It's literally making my day. You are not going to find anyone more conservative than I am.
That's totally not true.
Well, okay, but look,
within the industry, maybe you could give you that.
If you had told me 10 years ago that I would be in cannabis right now, first of all, I probably didn't even know what the word cannabis meant, and second of all, I had never really even smoked, maybe 4 or 5 times.
Well, it's the same thing for me. If you told me 10 years ago, that was 2004. Yeah, I had just bought a condo down in the Springs, and I was acting, and if you had asked me that you're going to own a publication in 10 years, I'd be like, you're so full of shit.
Yeah. If you had asked me, making herbal potions and medicines,
an apothecary.
Ooh, it is.
I love that word, by the way. I love that word.
Thank you.
Learned that from Shakespeare.
Oh, that's beautiful. Apothecary is a very meaningful and sweet word to me. So, and you'll hear more about apothecaries and Christy Lunsford soonish.
Ooh,
but
teaser.
Yeah. So we've got just a little bit of time left.
Yeah.
Going back to hemp,
please.
Random quote of the week from our good friends at the Hemp Industries Association. I love them. Hemp products sold in the U.S. last year had a total retail value of at least $581 million, up 24%. And all of that hemp was imported.
Of course.
Next year's numbers, I cannot wait. I would love to do a show. I could totally geek out on the I could make spreadsheets on just like how much hemp was produced in the U.S., where it went.
Well, that's going to be an article that we're going to have to do in the magazine, obviously.
Can it have spreadsheets?
You can have spreadsheets to create the article, but nobody wants to read a spreadsheet. Graphs, yes. Graphs are fine. You can totally have graphs. I love graphs. Graphs are very helpful for people.
A pie chart.
They are. Hemp pie charts are fine. But here's the problem. My prediction. Okay. I love looking in the crystal ball. And you know what? I'm not bad on the crystal ball sometimes in this industry.
Okay.
I'm going to say less than 5%.
I know.
Way less than, probably 2%. Because we're not ready.
I know.
We have to develop the seed bank to grow more hemp before we can actually grow hemp to make things with it.
The infrastructure to process it, and then the market to...
Did you say infant structure?
I said infrastructure.
I thought you said infant, which I was like, that's really good, actually, because it is an infant structure
that would have been good.
I don't know. I was like, wow.
No, I said it.
I said infant structure.
Sometimes I have some... I don't know. It's like I was dropped here from another planet.
Yeah.
My English is really sketchy sometimes. I will say that. But infrastructure...
Infrastructure.
Yeah. So, but we do need to develop it. And I know you're giggling at my expense, so I'm just going to...
I'm not giggling at you. I'm giggling with you.
All right. Yeah. I'm giggling now.
Okay. There you go.
All right.
See?
So.
If it was Samantha, I'd be giggling at her.
Samantha,
because
where
she's
are
mean.
you? You
she's
left
mean
me
to me.
Alone
she's
with
so
David
mean to me.
Again.
Yeah.
So, I love Samantha.
I do too.
I got to tell you, I had a great time.
I know you did. You guys were having a good old time.
Dude, were you jealous?
I was jealous.
Yeah.
I was.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So
I should have just brought the baby with me. I would have been feeding her right on air. I don't care.
We could have passed her around.
She's easy.
You know what I love?
She would have been good about it too.
About the three of us is we all have kids, and we're all so passionate about our two things.
Yep.
Our families.
Yep.
And our careers.
Exactly.
You're right. It's just so nice to be aligned with people who are equally passionate. So we didn't talk about the magazine at all. So
no, we didn't. But you know what?
I love the magazine.
You know what? You know what I want to talk about is my favorite graphic in the magazine for this month.
Page 50.
Page 50.
Turn to page 50. I memorized.
Oh yeah.
Someone has a great sense of humor at the magazine.
That was, I'm very proud of this one because this was my idea. So not everything is my idea, and I don't give credit. I give credit to whoever's idea it was.
I don't know if you guys can see this.
The important thing is to understand that the bottom graphic was an actual billboard that Smart Colorado did for Halloween. And they said, can you spot the pot? Because, of course, they would say pot. And they show all these gummies and everything out of their wrapper because they're out of their wrapper. How would you spot it?
Right.
And so I said, okay, Smart Colorado, let's use your same concept and apply it to alcohol because it's easy to apply it to alcohol. And we had two glasses, one with water, one with vodka. And we said, can you spot the vodka? Because they're out of their packaging, so how would you know?
Absolutely. How would you know? And I must say, as a small child, I remember a really great Christmas party I attended, and I wandered around unattended, finishing people's cocktails.
Sure. I've done that.
And how old were you?
I was
the way
12.
You said that.
I've done that, yeah.
I was like probably 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And I knew no difference. That Coca-Cola drink with the rum, that was very popular. It was delicious. Oh, my gosh.
Good old Cuba Libre.
Oh, I loved the holidays when I was little.
Fancy way to say rum and Coke. But yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Cuba Libre. Yeah.
Cuba Libre?
Cuba Libre.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's Cuban.
It is Cuban.
See, we could link that right back in.
Yeah.
So brilliant. I loved it. I saw it. I got to tell you.
It's just one of my favorite ones because it's like I love to poke at those guys. I think their name is the biggest joke ever to say Smart Colorado because everything they do is stupid in my opinion. And they really like instead of elevating the conversation, they really bring it down.
Well, and in some ways,
backwards.
They're kind of doing my job for me.
They really are. That's the thing that's funny about it is like you guys don't realize how dumb you are.
Yeah.
That you are actually helping our cause because you're the only voice against us and you're idiots.
Right. And we have been having the good parenting conversation since 2010.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, to them, good parenting is let the government parent for you.
Right.
So.
And that's not something that we necessarily need or want. Yeah. I think that we're all really exceptional parents. So.
Well, and my writer DJ Reitz, who did this, he's a great writer for us.
He is.
He is, isn't he great?
Yes.
He's been asking. We've been talking about what are we going to do to blast Smart Colorado. And I was like, you know what? They're going to do something really stupid soon.
It won't take long.
And then we're going to have I mean, we could do something every month about them. We really could. But I was like, let's just wait until they do something that we can really have fun with. And that was the one. And we're like, oh, man. Because instantly I saw that billboard and I was like, can you tell the difference between vodka and water? And I was like, oh, yeah, we got to do that. Because it was just the dumbest thing I'd ever seen as far as a waste of money.
Right. What a waste of money.
Well, and then the whole fear mongering they did for Halloween, where they were like,
and then nothing
edibles
happened.
Of course not. You know how expensive it would be.
I'm deeply aware of how expensive.
Of course, we do.
Are. Yeah,
they just have no concept.
Well, the only person who's going to do that is somebody who has an agenda, and hell, put some small child in the way of your agenda. How dare you? That's criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, I mean, look, it can't be that hard. Nobody's going to be that dumb because it's not that hard to figure out who gave it to you. I mean, if you're a parent and your kid's been walking around your neighborhood and they got candy that was laced with cannabis or had a razor blade in it and all those old horror stories they've had, it's not hard to figure out who did it because you can retrace your kid's steps. And now you're like, well, here's our list of suspects. Let's work from there. You know,
absolutely.
It's just not difficult. Smart Colorado proving they were stupid again.
I'm deeply thankful to Smart Colorado. So, I mean,
no, it is like that though, right? It's almost like if I was a Democrat, I would be deeply thankful to like Michelle Bachmann. I mean, and I'd be almost upset that she's leaving office because it's like, oh wow, we don't have somebody to point to that's just so stupid. That like we can kind of just say at least we're not that dumb,
right?
You know what I mean? It's like so we have we have these people that are kind of fodder for us to like be like so those are the ones you're going to believe,
absolutely,
as opposed to us who we work with logic, reason, and facts.
Exactly, and we work with scientific data,
yes,
and good moral conscience,
yes.
And I love the community that I'm in.
I do too.
Happier. So
me too. Well, after that love fest for our community, we do have to call it a day.
I could go another hour.
We really could.
Yeah, it's the show notes.
It is. Yeah, it's the show notes. When you do the show notes, and we noticed that too when we started doing show notes, we were like, oh wow, we really could go another hour.
I'm sure you rolled your eyes this morning when you got that.
No, I didn't actually. I was like, I smiled. I did. I was like, oh my God, this is so awesome. We get show notes. I was like, I love it when I don't have to feel like I have to do everything.
Oh, well, you don't.
I know, and that's what I love.
And here's what I have to say. It's just not the three of us.
Yeah.
This conversation is a statewide one, and it's a national one.
Yes.
If you're listening and you want us to talk about something that's political or interesting, you can send a note via the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Seems like a great way to get in touch.
Yeah.
And look, I'll research it, and if it's got legs, I want to hear about it.
Yeah, you can reach out to us on the Hemp Connoisseur's Facebook page, and we'd be happy to do that. I mean, it's easy. It's probably the best way to get a hold of us to do it that way. Send a message on there. If you just do a post, sometimes it'll miss it because we get tons of posts. Do a message if you have a talking point. Now, that said, we will not be meeting for the rest of this year.
I know.
Because next Thursday is Christmas Day, and then the next one after that
You don't want to do a
is...
show on Christmas Day?
Yeah, no.
I'm good with it.
And then we have New Year's Eve. So we wish everybody out there a happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, happy Christmas, happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, and happy New Year's, happy Kwanzaa. I don't know when Kwanzaa happens. Everyone just says that now. I don't know why, but.
I think it happens around. It's
Christmas. The first week of January, isn't it, or is it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
And Ramadan cycles through the year, so
does it?
Sometimes it lands on Christmas. But Merry Christmas to all of our Muslim friends as well.
Okay.
And
would they take offense by that?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a secular holiday where people exchange goodwill.
I really think that's what Christmas has turned into. So, the funny thing is supposedly if you go by historians, the timing that they say that Jesus was born was in July.
Yeah.
So this is really they made Christmas because it was a pagan holiday, and they didn't in Roman times, and they didn't want it to change people's lives too much.
Well, you indoctrinate people by giving them comforting things that are familiar.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I have a lot of Muslim friends. They all have trees, and they're exchanging Christmas presents.
Because it's a cool holiday.
It is a secular holiday.
If I was Jewish, I'd probably have a holiday. I would probably celebrate Christmas too.
Absolutely. Well, Yes.
Right?
And they're all like, all my Jewish friends are going to an amazing party that Ian Sieb is doing called Hedonism.
Oh, is he?
Brilliant.
I wasn't invited.
Well, you buy tickets.
I'm just kidding.
And I got to tell you, as soon as Bryce has moved out of the house and he's 21, I want to go to Hedonism because it looks like a fun party.
That's awesome.
And then, I think that Christmas is for everyone. And I will attend Mass on Christmas Eve because that is what my husband's family does.
Got it.
And I respect their traditions as well. So there's plenty of religion to go around.
There is.
There's plenty of cannabis to go around.
There is. Yeah. So happy. We want to wish everybody a happy holidays. I want to thank our intern Gabe for filling in today, man, doing a great job. That sound issue was not his issue.
No, it was not.
That was actually probably me playing with a mic and dropping it. But
and should we say
happy birthday to our normal producer Chris, who's taking the day off because it is his birthday today.
He is skiing.
He's skiing, so he's not listening to the radio show at all. But if he ever does, he's
now.
Yeah, he probably is. He probably is at prairie skiing right now. He's probably and for him, it's not drinking.
It's Could this be like our international, like drink or vape?
We should do another thing because this is drinking. We need to do something for smoking.
I'll figure it out.
We're gonna make something up for it. But to all you out there, have a happy holidays and smoke them if you got them.
Right on.
All right, peace, love, and
happiness.
Yeah. That's fun.